everybody. Welcome back. You're really throwing me off by not wanting to wear the headphones today, Sugar. Because I can't hear myself. I don't even hear myself. I just feel like I need to hear myself. I need to hear myself to make sure that I am. I'm a producer now. Okay, so I just need to. I feel like I need to. I don't know, I feel like something's throwing me off. This is all in the This laptop's all on the screen. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're on episode number 78 of the Bravo Zulu podcast. Tonight in the studio, we are live. If you're joining us live, let us know in the chat that you're here today. Join us live. And today, we got a spouse episode featuring. Disgruntled about it? Camera's not even on me. I'm the one talking. She just really liked her glow that she got going on. This lighting that I got, this $30 light that I got. She was really feeling herself, everybody. And I'm going to be feeling her later. What's up, boo? All right, so today's episode, understanding your spouse. So we've been talking. I've been talking. You ain't been listening. Because you don't want to hear it, I be bringing up, oh, honey, we're trying to figure out this duty section stuff. And you be like, that's cute. Let me know when it's figured out. Right?
Why talk about it? I have no control over it.
I have little control over it, too. It's not.
Well, why do you? I just don't understand why you bring it up.
Oh, and great segue into the title of this episode, Understanding Your Spouse. You see what we did there, y'all? It's like we're soulmates or something, right? But so it's a difficult thing for military couples, mil to civilian, or as we were talking a little bit earlier, right? Mil to prior mil to mil, mil to civilian, mil to mil, and mil to prior mil. Thick tongue. What can I say?
Remix.
Yeah, she really be making fun of me, y'all. I don't appreciate it. So, how much I like to communicate everything that's going on. You don't have an understanding of that or don't want to hear it because you understand that none of it's coming true until it's actually true.
Well, I find it annoying. Like, why bring it up? Because it's one of those, you get my hopes up and then only for it to be scrapped and changed. It's when you've been in the game for so long, it's just like, okay, you're talking about it, but it's not set in stone. And then it's not even set in stone until it's actually like the day of. And even the day of, it's still changing. So
you're not wrong.
I don't care to hear about it if it's not set in stone.
So, on my side, I guess, one is kind of like sharing my day. Oh, we got Chad in the chat. Say, what's up, Chad, in the chat?
What up, Chad?
So, on my side, I just think of it like, one is like partly just sharing my day. Like, this is what happened today, right? And these are the things we're talking about. But, I don't know, I like over-communicate, right? If I can over-communicate and over-tell you things, then I look at it as like, you can't act surprised when I do drop something on you.
To me, it's just it's annoying to bring something up that's not even set in stone.
So you're just annoyed with me.
No, I'm not annoyed with you. I'm annoyed with the whole situation. I think because I'm annoyed at the fact that they pulled you to a ship that wasn't part of the plan. It's just like, okay, well, what other plan are you going to fuck up? Like, I don't care to hear it until it's set in stone.
Right.
So it's like there's really no point in talking about it because I'm already pissed at the situation, and you're only adding fuel to the fire by saying, oh, I don't know, it might be this way, but then other people were talking about it this way. I don't care. Tell me when it's set in stone, and then I'll arrange my life because I don't want to maybe arrange it this way or maybe arrange it that way, and then it's like neither, which always happens. It's like neither.
So I give you two options, and it's the third one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you never brought up. So there's no point. There's really no point in talking about it until it's set in stone. Just, it's one of those, like, you check on board somewhere, and then if things are going this way, then just tell me, like, this is what our duty section looks like, and this is, how it's going to be from now until I transfer. Okay, great. I'll figure it out, because the way that things are happening on your side, I can't control that. On my side, I could partly arrange it, but there's really no point in talking about all the maybes.
My bad. I guess that solves that, right? Everyone, my bad. Apparently, I be fucking up. I understand what you're saying, right? Like,
No, I didn't say you're fucking up. It's just that's why I'm not interested in the maybes. There's really no point. To me, there's no point in talking about it. Like, I understand you're just trying to communicate. I understand what you're trying to do, but also I don't care to hear it. It's just sound. It's just noise.
I'm just sounding noise. Yo,
No,
we are
not
lit
you.
today. We're lit. We haven't been
Not
drinking.
you.
Don't worry. Y'all don't need to call the cops. Okay, I'm safe here. I think. Check on me in the morning.
Well, like I said, I'm just bitter about the whole situation. So
Keep talking. I'm going to check this camera.
So it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever.
Yeah, I get that part, honey.
Yeah, I know. My response is, like, no matter anything about what's happening in your work life, I'll only care about it if it's affecting you personally. But if it's like, your work schedule or something like that, you know what? Like, our plan already went to shit. Like, what else? What else?
So, I mean, that goes perfectly into this episode of, like, trying to understand, right? Do you feel that it's being all that has happened, right? And it happens to couples all around the Navy. Do you feel that it is hard, or how do you feel, like, the difficulty level maybe of, like, because this is what we were talking about earlier, right? Picking up where we were talking about this afternoon of, like, you did serve and you have some understanding, but then what you were saying was, like, you still don't understand, like, the other 95% of it.
Yes. I don't like half of the stuff that goes on is just like it doesn't make sense to me, so then I'll never understand fully why things are done the way they're done. But I also understand, well, that's just how it operates. Like, everything is always unknown. But to me, that's like no way of life. That's why it's hard to retain people, because the unknown is just not human nature. Like, human nature, people like stability and they like structure. Even though the Navy is like one of the biggest organizations, like, career-wise for people, it's not very structured if you think about it.
Yeah.
So to not have like a structured life, that's like grueling.
Yeah,
mentally.
it's hard.
Yeah, like when I pick a job as a civilian, I'm thinking about, well, what's the structure like? Is it stable, number one? Or in number two, what's my work schedule like? Do I know what my schedule is like all the time? Like, when I'm block schedule. So block schedule, if you don't know what it is, it's I work Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that's my work schedule, like, as long as I choose.
Forever.
So I can make appointments and stuff, like, because I know what my schedule is. But if I don't know and I'm constantly checking my calendar, like, oh, shit, do I work that day? That is no way of life for me. Like, the quality of life in that job is not worth it to me. So that is why I don't understand fully, even though I was prior Navy.
Because even when you're Navy,
I hated it.
You're still on block.
And it's part of the reason why I got out, because if I'm going to have a family, I can't be in the unknown.
Yeah.
Especially if I have kids. Like, my kids need structure with their parents. So at least, like if you're unknown, then at least one parent is structured. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you caught me with a question with a drink in my hand. Um, yeah, I mean, of course I know, right? We did it. We had those conversations as we were figuring it out. Um, I think it's more to like, well, Chad says, oh, we got Gary in the chat too. What's up, Gary? What's up, Chad?
Gary.
Chad says it's a chaotic structure. Yes, and Gary agrees, zero structure for sure. Which is very interesting because we're supposed to be this like chain of command, structured organization. This is what we do. If this happens, we do that. But so much of it is not structured, or doesn't seem structured, or it's the chaotic kind of structure and knee jerk response, or everything is reactionary instead of being proactive in trying to get things. So from your understanding of when you're in to when you're out, do you think like how do you think at all serving helps you try to understand when I'm giving you a plate full of bullshit? Do you think your time served helps at all in trying to understand that, or does it kind of like make it worse and being like, because I mean you were more structured than me. Yeah, right. Your short 4-year career was more structured than mine. Or do you not think so? Because you gave me the crooked face.
No, I don't. I think my work life was just as chaotic as yours because my work schedule wasn't. It was okay at the time because we didn't have kids.
Yeah.
So if we get called in, it's just like, well, shit, I gotta go in. So I'll see you in the morning, or I'll see you later. Because there were a couple times I got on my days off, I got called into work because they were super short on the unit. So you can't say no, I can't come in. You're active duty. So like if your Divo is calling you saying, "Hey, we tagged you to come in," because no one else like all the civilians called out, and really we got all hands on deck for tonight. So tag, you're it. We'll owe you when we can. And it's just like, okay, well, I don't have a choice. Otherwise, if I say no, I'm fucking UA.
Yeah.
So, my babe, sorry, I got to go in.
But I mean, so that answers that part. But do you think it like helps you?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't help me understand, because to me it's just like, well, there goes the fucking Navy again. Because like if you think about it, what if we did have kids at the time? They say, well, you should have a family plan, right? But when you're calling me last minute like that, that means, and then what if your family plan is like out of town or something?
Yeah.
Or they're like sick or in the hospital or whatever, or it's like midnight. Like who's going to do childcare at midnight? You know what I mean? Let's say if you were deployed and, because at the time they're like, well, one person has to be sea, one person has to be shore. But then if I'm by myself with this kid, how am I going to find childcare at like midnight?
If you're getting called in.
Yeah. So to me, I feel like it makes it worse because I didn't understand it then and I don't understand it now. Like it's not any better now than it was before. It's the situations are the same. But like it makes me even more bitter because it's just like, man, we're like how many years into the Navy career and things are still the same? Like when are things going to change? Never.
Do you think you'd be more understanding if you didn't have the job? Because that's one of the things we were talking about, right? It's like if you were just a stay-at-home mom, or really like stay-at-home mom, or you didn't have to leave the house to go work or something, would it be able to maybe not understand, but like to cope with it and deal with it? Or do you think it you just feel the same across the board?
I think I would feel the same across the board, whether I have, prior naval experience or not. Like my brain hasn't changed my brain has always been the same from like before I joined.
Birth.
Up until now, you know what I mean? Like my way of thinking has always been this way, but the only difference is when I was active duty, I couldn't question it. Where now that I'm a civilian, it's just like, well, that doesn't fucking make sense. But I mean, if it's happening to you, I have no control over what happens to you. I kind of just have to suck it up.
So do you think? Let's go to the chat real quick, babe. We got Gary says Semper Gumby. I hate that term.
Me too.
You hate it?
Yeah, because
soulmates. Oh my God, I love you.
In ODS, that was like everyone was saying Semper Gumby. You know, our schedules
It's so
always change.
fucking annoying.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
It's so disrespectful to Gumby, the clay animation.
I know.
Yeah, fucking nerds. All right, so what else we got? We got Chad. She already understands, and without kids, other family obligations, you just roll with it. But include kids and family, and it amplifies the chaos. Yeah, it definitely does, right? And you know, we were fortunate enough that your time in, we didn't have kids. You got pregnant right at the end, and we kind of planned that and try to manage it to the best of our ability, right? And but again, the outside forces, that is the Navy, the unstoppable beast. It just keeps going.
Yeah, but that's, it's kind of unfortunate because I wanted a career in the Navy.
Yeah.
And I was working towards becoming an 04, but with wanting a family, you being active duty, like it's realistically, it's not ideal for like a family situation.
Would you say that you understood that it wasn't going to work?
Yeah, which is why I had to swallow my pride and be like, I resign my commission. I want a family more than I will always have a career, like whether it's in the Navy or as a civilian. It's a matter of making the sacrifice for like what's more important, your family life or your career. And I chose my family life because like having 2 active duty parents, I already know what it's like to have 1 active duty parent, and that was hard already, and to have 2 just make it harder for them, for the kids, that it's just, I would rather 1 parent just be active duty and have 1 chaotic parent than 2.
Yeah. What do you think, let's play a game of make-believe and judgy. Let's judge a little bit. It's one of our favorite pastimes, judging others. But, like, what if you were to have stayed in? Do you think, because one of my things is, like, what I was kind of touching on earlier was, like, you were in 4 years. That's not long enough to be indoctrinated, right? But spouses that have been in, mill to mill, and they've both been in 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 years, they're both fully indoctrinated, right? So do you think those couples that are like mill to mill that have been in that long, that they're more understanding of each other and just how the things work because they're both indoctrinated into it? Or do you think it's just like something else?
The question would actually be what kind of
The question is what I asked.
What kind of support system do they have? Because you couldn't, there's no way that you could be fully indoctrinated and then have a family, and then honestly, like, I want to know what was your
how
family
they do
care plan? Yeah, how did you do it? I
Yeah.
mean, there are families that have done it successfully, and I salute those couples, but like for me, that would be mentally draining for me, and that's just just me personally.
One thing that does happen in a lot of those cases is a sacrifice of one person's career for the other person's, right? Which, like, one person will be like, well, hey, I'm going to go get my anchor or my senior chief star first. So I'm going to stay at sea for 2 tours, 3 tours, whatever it is, right? Because I'm a gun for it. And then after I get mine, I'll take a tour off so you can try to go get yours. You know what I mean? And oftentimes, I think from what I've seen and maybe heard around, it's like oftentimes it's the husband, right, that is the one out there running and gunning, going for it all, while the wife takes her shore duty, 2 times in a row and sacrifices her career, up to a point, getting the anchor, maybe not. But since they're the mother, you can go to shore duty and stay at home with the kids.
Yeah, I mean, cool. That works. But
You wouldn't
doesn't-
wanted to do that.
No, because like my career is equally important. But that's just me. You know what I mean? Like like I said, there are couples that do that and they're okay with doing that. But like I'll take a backseat in my career to a certain point. Like I'll resign my commission so that you can go forth in your Navy career. Because sure, would an 04 be nice? Yes, because my leadership, they were trying to set me up for it. So when I resigned, it was not that I disappointed them, but it was just like, damn, well, okay, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like, to me, it's not worth it. Like because I would just feel like a little bit of bitterness if I took a backseat in the Navy, if I stayed active duty and took a backseat because of, family stuff.
Well, I mean, it's equally important, right, that I understand your sacrifice and all of that.
Right.
You know,
And it's not like you said that I had to get out. I mean, that was never the case. It was more like it was a mutual decision that we made together, because we were both up for orders, and it was just like, well, it's not going to work. And it's almost like you have to realize that together, and I feel like the fact that we did realize it together kind of, I don't feel any bitterness towards resigning my commission, but that's I don't know the words.
practice them. Practice your words. You'll get better. So, and I say that because as we're talking about this, right, a lot of times I think we, as a serving member, will look at our spouse and be like, you need to understand me, right? You need to understand that I have this sacrifice going on, that I'm the one going to the ship every day, that I got to deal with the duty section, the dogging weekend, whatever it is. You need to understand me, though, because, I'm the one perceived going through the harder work or something. But at the same time, like, that's not all entirely true, right? That and couples, especially military couples, mill to mill or otherwise, mill to civ, mill to civ, and mill to prior. It's a lot of tongue twisters in there, But like, you have to be understanding of your husband, wife, spouse, whoever's at home, right? Significant other, and what they're going through still.
Yeah. I mean, I think people don't understand that, like, even while I was active duty, like, me joining was a little bit of sacrifice for you too. And there was always that risk of, well,
I was afraid she was going to leave me, y'all. I was afraid of it.
Well, I mean, we've had threats about, like, people saying that
I don't mean like leave me, like break up. I mean like duty station PCS somewhere
like
else.
Fratting. We've had threats.
You were
about
going to
that.
frat on me?
No.
Oh, you mean, I'm just kidding, babe. When the other people, I know what you're talking about. When people threaten me with the frat. Yeah, we've talked about that before.
And and there were so many things that, like, surrounded, like, us being active duty, that to me it was just like, you know what, this is way too much trouble. So even if I got out, you were more invested. So even if I got out, I will always have a job. Yeah. Not saying that you wouldn't have a job, but I will always have a
better paying job than the non-educated.
Yeah. So if I was
college
to get
dropout.
out, I would be making more money outside anyway. So it was kind of like a no-brainer. So that's why I don't have any resentment.
No regrets. To the chat, Chad says that the command lost a good one. You're right. When I PCS from that last command, Chad, it was somewhat of a sad day. But if you're talking about Nikki, yeah, her too. Gary, a job I would never want to do for sure. Annie tries to switch me all the time. What are you talking about, Gary? You talking about being the stay-at-home dad? yeah, let me drop it in the chat, Gary. Let me know if that's what you're talking about. Which we talk about regularly. We can't wait for retirement. I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad. I'm gonna be your trophy boo. People are gonna wonder how the fat guy got with the hot chick, and he just drives
this is
the truck with the kids.
People understand it more about you being a stay-at-home dad because you're still bringing home a paycheck, like a retirement paycheck. Even though it's not a whole lot, it's not nothing.
It's not a whole lot.
Well, yeah, and then I still get the medical benefits, and then we still have the ID card.
It's my little dependopotamus.
I know. People
go back a couple episodes, listen to that one.
People think that he scored with marrying a nurse. No. The real winner is
she went like a couple years without a dependent card, yo. She been her whole life on the dependent status. Yo, this one crazy.
I know your worth.
Yeah, fucking quarterly dental trips and fucking medical whenever you need it.
It's all paid for. I'm
covered.
I'm covered.
Barely.
That medical insurance doesn't come out of my paycheck.
She's lucky, y'all. But so, all the fun and games. Gary calling me softer. What are you talking about, Gary? I'm not soft. This is like rock hard. You see those pecs moving under there, buddy? See that? I won't show you anything else under the desk, Gary. Calm down, buddy. So it's tough for people to understand, right? Is it tough? I mean, for us, do you feel sometimes I don't understand you in certain things? Because I know sometimes, like when we started with, right? Like, I'm just trying to give you information. I know that you don't like all the information.
Are you talking about, like, understanding my...
No, like your job? I don't understand your job. I've said that before. I'm pretty sure I've said it on here.
No, but I don't understand, like, what you're saying.
Well, you're cutting me off again, which is a often thing that happens here on the Bravo Zulu podcast featuring Nikki.
I'm actually doing better this episode.
Not bad. Let me know in the chat. Is she doing better on this episode of cutting me off, okay? She's being intentional, and that's important. So, no, it's like I was saying. What was I saying? Like, there's some things I don't understand about your job. One, all of it, right? But for you to me, is it hard to understand, like, when I tell you all these things about, like, the schedule or this or that, yeah, you know that things aren't happening until it happens. It's chaotic and everything. But is it hard? Okay, this is what we were talking about. Here we go. Is it hard for you to understand, like, my role in my job, like, as a chief? Because, like, to reflect back at you, like, as a nurse, I know you save lives. I can't put myself into your mind and at all think about, like, your night of going in, like, oh, hey, can we get a crash cart? This one's dying. And you're like, fucking pumping them back to life. Like, that is beyond me. I cannot imagine that. But as I've told you, I'm pretty sure you could imagine me, sitting there, all right, your part's ordered. That's me at work. That's how I sound. So, but as we were talking about earlier, it's kind of like you look at me like, okay, you're a chief, but I don't understand, like, your role. What'd you call it? Your job scope.
Your scope of practice.
Yeah, my scope of practice. Ooh, scope of practice.
So
can you, like, expand on that a little bit?
I think this is what we were talking about earlier, that even though I've been prior Navy, I only understand like 10%, maybe 10% of what it is to be a supportive spouse and your job. Like 10%. That's it. Mm. I don't even want to say 50% because I don't feel like I sacrifice enough. Like, I don't sacrifice as much as you do when it comes to, like, your personal life. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I understand. I understand what you're saying there.
So, no, I don't understand your role as a chief, even though I come from a house of learned doctors. I won't ever understand it because, number one, I've never been a chief. I'm wardroom certified.
Weird room.
So you know, I'm used to every man for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand. Like, yes, I take care of the junior sailors when I was active duty, but that's only like a little bit, not a whole lot, like what a chief is supposed to do. And I don't think I'll ever understand it because I've never been a chief, so I don't know. So all I can say is when I look at the things, the situations that you face and you tell me about it, when you tell me how you handle it, and then I played in my head and I was like, I don't think I would have done it like that. I think I would have done it differently, but that's because my way of thinking is not like a Navy chief way.
Yeah.
It's more like, well, what is my scope of practice? Like, as we mentioned before, like, let's say, you know, as a nurse, like you have someone having like a mental breakdown. Bitch, I do critical care stuff. If some mental shit is going down, I'm calling mental health. Like, hey, I got code green. Code green is like someone's going berserk. That ain't my job. So that's that's you come in and you do that shit. So like if you have a sailor going rogue, then everyone's like, you gotta call the chief. The chief is supposed to like, you know,
Take care of everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me that's just like, I don't understand why that is your role, because you could get hurt. Like this person could be so mentally unstable that they could, I don't know, fucking shoot you or something. Like, and it's not targeted at you. It's more like if you were just in the way, they could like hurt you. And to me, that's just like, well, that's not your job. That's like, my nurse brain is like, oh, that's, you call the cops. That's
Call
like,
security.
yeah.
You guys have security at the hospital for reasons like
Yes,
that. Yeah.
yeah. Which we have done like numerous times. Like people don't understand, like people go crazy in a hospital. So we do have to call security. And to me, it's just like, wow, how is that a chief's job? So
Yeah.
I can't understand that aspect. And I don't think I ever will because I'm not a chief.
So, but I mean, I think you hit on a great point, right? Is like your job does not intrude into your personal life,
Right, because
especially since you got out of the Navy, right? There's no more calling you up to take a spot, right? It's more you call them and say, "Hey, I'm out for today," and they just be like, "Okay, well, adjust your time card," right? But and I think even more important, like you hit on, like, all right, you were in the wardroom, cool, that's fine, right? You didn't spend the early years of like a long career in as junior enlisted finding someone to help you out, right? Or looking for someone to help you out. Like, I mean, like you said, like it's very cutthroat. Everyone's for themselves. You're very lucky, I think, if you get like a 0405 that starts mentoring you as an ensign or JG to kind of bring you along, right? Would you agree with that? Like, very lucky if that happens, meaning it's a rarity, right? So, but here we are, like, we're always looking for that. Maybe some get it, maybe some don't. You get the toxic leadership, toxic chiefs, whatever. You get your whole gamut of
toxicity.
Ooh, are we doing Britney, bitch? Do what?
The taste of it.
Yo, excuse us. Inside jokes that don't mean nothing, but like when we're looking for that, and then we achieve, donning the hat and wearing the anchor and stuff. I wonder if it's like for us, if it's like we have to give it back, or the other part is like, is our scope of work a little out of whack? And from what I'm hearing you say is like our scope of work is a little out of whack, and I agree to that, partially, right? I think there's a lot that is asked of chiefs, right? That some might say I'm unqualified for, right? And I'd probably agree to some of that, but it's like, who else is going to do it? You know what I mean? Like, if it's not going to be the chief that answers phone calls, answers the questions, that takes, fields the difficult pitches, you know what I mean? Like who else is it going to be?
Yeah, that's true. But taking a turn.
Turn it.
Do you remember during your season, like at the beginning when everyone was introducing themselves and wives had to
Oh yeah,
what was
here we
that?
go.
What was that thing that we attended? Like that dinner,
The
the
dinner,
meet
yeah,
is called a meet and greet.
yeah, meet and greet.
Like you knew I didn't want to go because number one, I was pregnant as fuck, and then number two is just like, why the fuck do I have to meet the Chiefs? Like, what purpose does that serve me
Yeah,
for the season?
to
I'm
keep
not
in
a part of the season.
to keep in theme. You did not understand why you were there.
Right. I didn't understand why I was there or the purpose of meeting and greeting the wives or husbands. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like there wasn't ever a point in time where you ever made me feel like a part of the Navy family to begin with. And then, to have this meet and greet, like, I don't know if it's because I was in the Navy where you can easily spot someone who's fake, right?
mm-hmm.
And I spotted so many fake people. Like, I'm not going to name any names, but I'm just going to say that, like, I just don't understand why I had to meet these other chiefs. What was the point of that?
Yeah, or the other spouses.
Right.
I think even more importantly, the other spouses, right?
Yeah, because I don't care to meet anyone else. Like, what is that? How is that going to help me? I'm supposed to feel like I'm like forming this family when like when you kind of know what the season entails. Like, I'm supposed to be friends with you. But in my mind, I already knew that, like, whatever you pour your heart open to these people, they're going to use it against you somehow during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately, like, identified, okay, who are the genuines? So if they ever approached me or, called me up or whatever, I knew not to divulge anything. Like if you said, oh, how's everything? How's your pregnancy? Is Josh taking care of you? Is the season too much? My words are going to be like, I'm good. I'm going to keep it going,
Yeah.
So I just don't understand what the purpose of those things are. And like, I'm supposed to be understanding though.
Yeah, as the spouse, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to just understand everything.
But I
or
don't.
if you're supposed to understand it, or I'm supposed to explain it to you in a way to make you understand it.
But I don't feel like you should. I don't feel like I should be brought into that world as a spouse.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like the people you bring here to our home, I know that no one just comes to our home just to be here.
Yeah.
Like those are people that you trust to a certain extent. So that means like they're probably really good friends, borderline pretty much family already if they're invited to our home. So if I've never seen you in my life and all of a sudden you're asking me like, how's everything at home? Bitch, I don't know you. I've never been introduced to you except for now. Like, I just don't understand why the family has to be like introduced to all of that. Because like if you one day come home and tell me, hey, you remember that dude at the dinner? He did this. Guess what he did? This is what he did. And then I'm sitting there like, that motherfucker, I knew that bitch was fake. But like, like why would you want to introduce your family to people like that?
Yeah.
Because there are a bunch of snakes out there. You know what I mean? Don't tread on me.
You're dumb. Yo, that was smooth, babe. That was smooth.
Don't tread on me, though.
Yo, you stupid for that. Oh, my God. Yeah. Oh, man. That was good. That was hot. I like that. The way you slipped, that's best punchline you've ever done, honey. Don't tread on me. No, and it's from my side of it, I don't understand it either, right? Because through the whole season, right, like it's not a joint venture really between, new ones, old ones, and family and everyone, right? So you have this meet and greet to be like, oh yeah, you know, this is everything, this is everybody. Hi, meet everyone, and then we're about to go put your spouse through the next 6 weeks of hell.
Bullshit.
You know, whatever. And then, you know, I come home, I was underweight. Spouses come home and they're like, they bitch about it, right? This happened, that happened. They bitch. They talk about the good ones and who's helping and who's, you know what I mean? So it's like, what was the point of it? And you know, again, like I tell you all the time, like maybe there's people out there like, oh, you're not fucking, you don't get it, you're not a fucking real chief, you know, whatever. I don't know, explain to me then. Right?
Yeah.
Help me understand then. Because again, like we talked to nobody from that mess. Right? You did not become friends with anyone. Right? With no spouses. What's up, HackerBot in the chat? Chad and Gary. I don't know, some weirdo in there. But it's like, so what's why?
So, and then you also had, well, I mean, everyone has a sponsor, right? So when your sponsor, we're not going to drop any names, but when he adds you on Facebook, it's just like, hey, you know, I'm Josh's sponsor. You know, if you need anything, just let me know. First of all, weird, right? But I know that's like a thing, right? That sponsors are supposed to do. But to me, I just find that really weird because I've never met you in my life until this season. And then, you know, I can kind of gauge how you are based on your interactions on social media because I'm a pretty good judge of character. So if I see the way you are interacting with my husband on social media and you rub me the wrong way the slightest.
Defend my honor, babe. Defend my honor.
I'm going to just
Y'all better listen up.
I'm just going to write you off as noted, never going to trust, and delete off my Facebook. Because first of all, we're not friends. So why the fuck are you on my Facebook? And number two, like, trust me, I'm not going to need shit from you. Like, the only thing that I need to do for this season for my husband is just to be there to support him, even though I don't understand what's going on and you can't tell me, like, everything that's happening. Like, if you're stressed out or what, I'm going to make sure that I don't stress you out, like, with extra bullshit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
that is, like, the only thing that I'll understand what my role is to just be supportive.
Yeah.
I don't have to understand the inner workings of the season or what you do as a chief. I just know I have to be supportive. I can gripe about shit, but it's not going to change anything.
Yep. Just don't gripe to me, okay? Because it's going to really put a lot on my shoulders. I don't think I'll take it. Chad and Gary, let me know if you got any questions about what we're talking about. If you guys got any opinions in there, and I'll read them out to Nikki, or I'll read them to the rest of the chat, and try to answer them up for you. I think you got some very good points in there, and it's weird, right? Even for myself, having been doing this for a little bit now, it's still just kind of like, I go back to like the scope, right? Like, and I just sit there and I just be like, damn, man. Oh, I was watching a video and it was something like, as a chief, you're a HR person, you're a project manager, you're all these different things that like you just do as the job, right? But if you're filling out a civilian resume and they ask like, hey, do you have any project management experience? You're like, yeah, I have some project management experience. You just have to find out what from your job, right, that you've done that fits that in civilian words, right? HR, manning, training, like all this stuff fits in there somewhere. And it's like, okay, well, if I could put all that on a resume, like a civilian resume.
You're like a GM.
A little bit more than a GM, honey. I'm not. All right. Okay, fine. I'm middle management. You're right. But, like, those people get paid on the outside, right?
Yeah.
There's specialties and degrees and all this stuff that usually fit alongside a lot of those things. But then I just kind of look at that and I'm sitting here like, where the fuck's my paycheck?
Well, I think that's why people stay in, is because, like, how does it translate into civilian life? You know, depending on what your rate is, like, how does that translate?
Yeah.
And so people just end up staying in because they're just like, oh, well, this shit's not going to translate.
But you have to find the way to make it translate.
Yeah, you have to find it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate well, because if you don't have the certificates to back up, like, what it
It's not
is
as strong.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just like corpsmen, like IDCs and stuff like that. Like, you could retire, but what is that on paper? You ain't got an LPN degree. You don't have the license. I mean, there is, like, you know, certain programs that you have to do, but you have to go through that program. It has to be, like, signed off and approved. And then, but then other than that, you're just like, okay, 20 years of being a corpsman and, like, you did some badass shit, but it doesn't, how do you translate, like, I did trauma, you know,
TCCC combat field medic
right.
certified, just like me.
It doesn't translate because you don't have a license.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why people just stay in.
Yeah.
Because that's not because that's, you know.
Not because they don't have nothing to do.
Right.
It's just, no one taught them, no one showed them, or they're not willing to seek it out for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got something from Chad here. To you, babe. Nikki, I would say that so many spouses are not like that. Not like you. They are lonely and seeking any kind of acceptance they can get. So I applaud you for being who you are as a woman, mother, and for God's sake, putting up with Josh. What?
What? You, Chad?
What, Chad? That's not cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I applaud all those same things, and we've touched on that on some of our other episodes together, right? You know, that spouse that is seeking other attention and validation. And so I guess that could go into this too, like,
is that because they don't get enough attention from their spouse?
well, I was
Or
gonna
they
go a
don't
different
feel-
way with it,
Oh.
right? Of like, what
Sorry.
kind?
Sorry.
No, well, what kind of attention we talking about? Like, what kind of attention they seeking, right?
I kind of went the wrong way. My bad.
Yeah, which way you trying to go later, honey? But I was gonna say, like, when he says that there's the validation acceptance, I think they're looking at it as like, well, if you're gonna be accepted into the mess, then I want to be also, and that's kind of where you get, like, you know, hardest job in the Navy.
Oh my God.
Right? People put it out there. Well, if they put it, if it's out there and it's on bumper stickers, then that means people have to be buying into it, and people have to be like promoting it, and you know, to continue the sale of those bumper stickers, there are spouses that have to be doing it. So, do they have what is their understanding? And it's like, how much do they want to understand? Do they want to understand so much that they know exactly what the pay chart looks like, but they don't want to wear the uniform?
I think I just had an epiphany.
Yeah, I saw it. Like, the light got brighter above your head.
I think that I'm not discrediting people in the military, but the military way of life is not reality for the average American, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, I think the reason why I don't fully understand the role of a chief is because half of me knows a little bit because I served a little bit and I kind of know, and then, you know, family, they're all in the Navy. And then half of me is like the average American as well. Like, I have to keep one foot on the floor to understand that this is real life, day to day, that, like, the average American doesn't go to their coworkers and be like, "Are you okay today?" like, oh, you need a mental health day, go take the day off, go home. That's okay, bitch, use your sick leave. Call out if you need to. You can call out and take a mental health day, but you got to use your
use your
sick
leave.
leave.
Yeah.
Or, oh, you got to go see a doctor? Go use your sick leave.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit about what you need to go do in your personal time. That means you just need to take some leave day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to me, that's kind of, I feel like that thinking for me kind of goes into, you know, I don't want to say that the military babies their people so much, but it's one of those, like, it's not the average American's everyday life. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, the way that the military handles
people
is
better.
Is not, yeah, it's there's like more camaraderie in the military.
Yeah. As there should be.
Yeah, which is good because you guys go through, like, shit that the average American doesn't go through.
Yeah.
So they're a little more compassionate. But, like, I think that I only understand 10% because my way of thinking is like, okay, well, if you're not feeling it today, fucking take some time off. Like, I can't help you because you need to go seek professional help in some way. Or, all right, like, oh, your car broke down. You know where the car shop is. Go do it. Go make an appointment. Like, what do you want me to do? I don't deal with tools.
Except when Chad visits. Boom! Got you, Chad. Got you. No, well, I mean, you're right as far as, like, it's your opinion. I don't mean that, I'm just making a joke, babe. Don't death stare me, okay? But you're right in saying, like, we are more compassionate, and I don't think people realize, and a lot of spouses and people don't understand that, right? Like, how compassionate the military actually is. And maybe it's changed over the last 20 to 30 years, right? I'm sure if we talk to your dad about, like, the times back in the 80s and stuff, it'd be a lot less compassionate, right? But things change where it is more compassionate, and we try to help more. Whereas the civilian world, it is still very, or you could even say maybe the wardroom, right, where they care about things still, but it's very still cutthroat, right? It's like, well, no, you need to do this, you need to do that. You don't have people looking after you like we do on our side, right?
Yeah, and I think, like, my way of thinking is, you're over 18. You're an adult. So you need to go figure it out. And if you can't figure it out, or you don't know how to cope with change, then you're not ready for the military. Because the military is, like, way more serious than people think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people think, when a lot of people come in, they think they're going to college.
Yeah.
Like, I got free college. I'm going to have a
Right.
place to live. I mean, I guess I got to do some work. Oh, wait, what? You mean I have to work, 12, 18 hours a day doing this? Like, it is, I don't know, like, who's ever ready for it?
I just feel like the military has, like, a lot of consequences for things, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the civilian world, it's black and white as far as you execute an action. There's always a consequence. Where in the military, sometimes they'll give you a chance. Maybe they won't. Maybe you get slapped with a UCMJ. Maybe you go to the brig. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to understand, like, why can't people just slap them with consequences? Maybe they'll learn better.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, maybe the Navy's getting softer. Maybe all the military is getting softer, right? But maybe sometimes you have to have a softer edge so you can retain more people, so people could do a better job at things, right? So you could get better performance, right? Do I need to crack the whip all the time just to get the job done? Will it get the job done? Yes. Doesn't mean you're going to get the best out of your employees, right?
Right. And I just feel like your quality of product, I mean, it's hard to find quality these days. It's just the reality of it.
Well, like, it might be hard to find quality, right?
You can teach it though.
Yes, and that's what I was about to say, right? That's more importantly, I look at it as like, and again, I think this is a part of where like some people don't understand the role as maybe a chief or the role as leadership in the Navy or military at all. Is like, it's not necessarily our job. Just we don't get the best recruits or the best civilians coming in as recruits. Once they're recruits, we don't get all the best recruits coming into the command. So we're dealt the cards that we have, and we have to play those cards. And we have to make the best quality out of that person to get the best results.
So my question is, when I go through the recruiting process, right, as an officer, there is a long tedious process.
You're being recruited for something totally different.
But so my thing is, like, we go through an interview process. I went through like a 4-panel interview, and I mean, I was drilled about, like, coming in the nurse corps, right? So, if you want quality, I'm not going to say like all officers are great, because, it's just a lot of them are not that great. But if you're applying for a job, why can't you do like an interview process just like any other job?
Because, not knowing exactly how the economy works, but like they're not just applying for a job, right? They're volunteering to serve. And as long as it's volunteer service, we have to take as many as we can to maintain the numbers.
Yeah,
right. It's to say this kind of goes in, kind of off track, but it goes in the same argument of like, why not just mandate service for all 18-year-olds to 25-year-olds for 4 years? So no matter where in those 6 years you fall, you have to do 4 years though.
And this is another thing that I don't understand about chiefs is like, you guys get selected, right? And then you go through the season and
tested.
I mean, like, no matter what,
Bested.
No matter what, you're an E7. You know what I mean?
Whoa! In the chat, can we get an all stop in the chat here? Okay, pay grade.
Are you not?
My pay grade. My pay grade.
That's what I mean.
There's big differences between
see what
pay
I mean?
grades.
I don't understand. Okay, anyway, so you're a chief or an E7.
No. My pay grade is E7, boo.
Okay, whatever. I just want to know, like,
what makes me smile?
No, you guys go through this season, right? You guys allegedly get like the same training. But to me, it's just like when you guys mentor and train, do you guys ever like look at someone and you're just like, man, if we ever go to fucking war, I do not want this person like having my back?
Yeah.
Okay, so why isn't that every chief is not mentoring everyone as if you're about to go to war?
Ooh, okay. So
this is what I don't understand. Like, if you're talking about like, quality of life and shit, like, why aren't you training up people in the same manner? No matter if you feel like they're a dud or whatever, you still have to try, right?
The dud has to try, or the chief has to try?
The chief still has to try to make a man or a woman out of this dud.
The sailor. That's what we're trying to make, sailors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the question again? Why? Like, let's get back to like the war thing, right?
I'm talking about like quality of product.
Okay, so quality of product. We don't get the best quality of product. We have to create the best quality of product, the
It-
best product.
It's
quality.
doable if
It
you
is.
take the time to do it.
Right. But that goes back to answering your other questions of understanding like scope of chief, like time, right? Like how much time do I
It's-
spend answering calls, text messages, and work stuff,
Well,
right?
part of your job is mentoring and training, right? Isn't
The
that
biggest
mentoring
part.
and training?
Right. It's the biggest part, and it's the part I like the most. Right. It's the part that can get you the quality the most, but it's also the part time that takes away from family time
It
the
doesn't,
most.
because if you're doing it during work hours,
That is not directed at me, y'all. She's just saying it for everyone.
no, I'm just saying, like, it will not take away from home life if you know how to do it during work hours.
Yeah.
Like if you're,
Oh, you don't have to yell. You have a microphone. I have headphones.
I'm just saying,
I can hear
if
you.
you're this is why I only understand 10%. Is if you're at work, right?
Mhm.
You got all these junior sailors that you know that are so junior. This is their first command. Wouldn't you, as a chief, want to be hanging around to make sure that they're doing everything that they're supposed to do, like by the book, right?
As much as you can be, yeah. I mean, you have other middle management below you to supervise and things like that, but, you know, accountability and the responsibility of their training still rests with you, yeah.
So I just don't understand, like, why there's still so many duds.
So you would have to create the definition of a dud. You're talking about, like, is a dud someone who does 4 years and gets out?
No, I'm saying, like, the ones that just don't want to fucking work.
Well, that's an inherited trait. That's a character trait. You know what I mean? I believe you could give me the dud, and I'll get work out of them.
That's what I'm saying is, like, shouldn't every chief be like that, though? Like, if
Yes, but a lot aren't. A lot see the dud, and they realize it's a dud, and that's when they stop. And then they'll give that dud work. You know what I'm saying? Lick the paint until it dries. I don't know.
it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me.
None of this makes sense, honey.
So when you have all these duds, like, you end up being at work longer because somebody didn't do something correctly, and then you end up having to stay late because you have to backtrack on what went wrong and figure out where it went wrong and then fix it, and then you're at work long, right? And then that goes into your home life, and then you're at work longer than you should when you should have been on their ass to begin with because you knew they were a dud. Like, you can't tell me that you didn't know that they were a dud.
Yes, but even let's go to the chat real quick to give you a breath, okay? Maybe a drink of water. Chat said, Chad in the chat. Yes, and not everyone will get it, so you absolutely try to build and mentor professionals and experts, but it's a two-way street, and some people refuse to put the work in. Like, some people do. Some of those duds just refuse to put work in, right? And it's a character thing. It doesn't matter if they're in the Navy. It doesn't matter if they're flipping burgers. It doesn't matter if they're turning wrenches
So
out of
then
town.
why
Like,
not-
they're going to be duds no matter where they go until they finally find the thing that they don't want to be duds about.
Well, this goes back into why can't you slap them with consequences?
You can.
See, this is what I don't understand. This is what I don't understand as a Navy spouse is why can't you hold people accountable for what they're not doing?
You can.
You
Right?
can't.
You can, and there's ways to go about it. Sometimes it
Until
creates.
they say I'm mentally unstable.
Sometimes it's harder. Maybe they do that. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not, again, even at that moment, I'm worried about that, but then go take care of that. Right? My concern is if they're not, and it's one of those like, all right, well, how much administrative burden do I want to put onto myself? Right? To go about all these proper ways to have them expeditiously removed from the Navy.
I would do it.
Again, how much administrative burden do you want to put on yourself?
I would do it.
Yeah, well, you still got all the drills. You still got all this. You know, when that starts cutting into your time, it cuts into your time when it's the end of the day finally at 1800 and all you want to do is go home. But instead, you need to take the hour to do the administrative work to get rid of this dud. Or that dud could come in tomorrow, do some dud work, just the right level and amount that they don't fuck it up, and they could just keep on going. And before you know it, they'll be out of the Navy anyways.
Will they? I mean, oh no, a lot of them still go off and stay in.
Yeah, a lot of them make Master Chief. I mean, but again, at some point, do they stop being duds? Do they stay in long enough where they stop being duds? Sometimes not. But all I'm worried about is the 3 years, 4 years that they're with me, and can I get the most out of them, give them the best tools that they can? I don't that's all I'm trying to do for that moment in time.
Well, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about just people in general.
But I mean, I would say people in general, a lot of that's all you can do, right? I mean, I can't stay with. It's not like the Age of Sail where the crew would crew that ship for 20 years, right? And all those people were on that same ship for 20, 30, 40 years, their whole livelihoods, right? It's not like that, right? We rotate in and out. So I got you for the time I got you. I'm going to give you what I get you. What about the second sea tour? So the 8-year second class or something, coming back to a ship for the second time. And I read the evals and it's all good, right? Everything, this is the best fucking sailor ever. And then they get to me, and I'm looking at them like, your performance here the first 6 months does not match what your eval said. Does that make him a dud? Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, does it? Is there? And that's why, you got to understand that as our job is to peel back all those layers and find out, yeah, maybe they are done. Maybe those evals were all lies. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe there's at home stuff. Maybe there's this. Maybe there's that. And then that goes back into your we are more compassionate now than civilians are. Because civilians, what would happen? Hey, by the way, buddy, thanks for joining us today. You're fired. Bye. But we can't fire them. Right? We can't just pick that booger and flick it onto somebody else. Some do. Some like, hey, you know what? You're a problem. We're going to get rid of you. We're sending you to this other division, so I don't have to see you for 6 to 9 months. And if I'm lucky, you'll like it there and you'll do halfway decent, and they'll want to keep you around, so I don't have to see you for the next 3 or 4 years. Those are called damage control petty officers.
I just feel like if people would, you don't have to fire somebody. You just have to hold people more accountable. Because if I don't hold my people accountable for their job, you're just wasting my time, and you're going to start to cut into my home life. And when you cut into my home life, I'm really done with you.
So what worked better for you as a child? Dad whooping you or disappointed dad?
Man, disappointed dad was the worst.
Exactly, right? You have to be able to build your sailors up to a point where it's like, Chief's not going to spank you. Chief is just disappointed. Sorry. Just get out of my face. And let them beat themselves up about it so they could come back better, right? Because I don't want to do the administrative burden. This is what I tell people. If I'm starting to write you counseling chits, I want you out. And now we've crossed the bridge into I'm creating a folder that I'm going to submit to get you to pass to DRB, to XO, to CO's Mass. That's if I start writing counseling chits.
But see, I feel like that this is something that I will never, ever understand. Not because I don't want to, but it's because, my leadership style is totally different.
Well, some might say, like you've said, I'm just using your words. You're from the weird room. You guys are cutthroat, every person for themselves.
This style was created
by Tupac and Biggie.
Before I even joined the Navy. If you can't get the job done, you're only endangering lives, and you're not producing what I need you to produce. If your style is a reflection of me, and if you don't get it, that's just letting me know that you can't work with me. And I'm trying to work with you, but I've given you maybe 2, you only get 2 or 3 chances with me. If you fuck it up, I'm going to figure out if I can fire you or send you somewhere else.
Well, again,
but then
that's
I'm
from
putting your reputation with your name. So I'm not going to
assassinating their character.
I'm not ruining you, but either you
sounded like you're ruining. You sounded like you're putting them in the little pretty pink
then you better
mean
fucking,
girl yearbook.
You better fucking change the way you do shit then. You better start working harder than how you are, because you got people that you need to prove wrong. Because if I'm sitting here and I'm very patient, if I'm the one that's telling you, yo, you're fucking up, and you don't get right.
You're patient?
I'm very patient. I am very patient.
You have patience.
I'm very patient.
And I'm not talking about patience. I'm talking about, like, people you work on.
When I'm teaching, like, I have a lot of patience because I know that this might be something new for this person. So I'll take my time. Okay, I can gather that you haven't done this before. Well, I'll take my time on you. But if it's like blatantly you don't want to work and you're just lazy,
sure,
you need to get up out of my face. Like, you don't deserve to be on my team.
But everyone wants to work.
Do they?
Just depends on the work that you can find for them.
They just want to make easy money. That's
sure. But again, like, okay, they'll find the easy thing for them to do to get the easy money. But everyone will work. You got to find and get them in the right spot, right? The right, if they're chess pieces on my chessboard, like, and they're just a pawn, then I need to put them in the best position.
Though?
Why are you? Oh my God,
no,
honey.
But what I'm saying,
everyone, that whole not cutting off is out the fucking window. That's just gone.
If the rest of my team is a solid A team, and I got this one person that, like, oh, I can't give them hard work because
then you're not a solid A.
You need to get off my team.
You need to get them up.
If you've already tried and they're blatantly lazy, you don't deserve to be on my team.
Figure it out, leader.
Yeah, I'll figure out how to get you off my team.
There's nowhere for them to go. They're yours. That's your sailor. It's your civilian.
But see, that's what
you get them again, and that's what you. Again, it's an understanding thing, right?
Yeah, I don't understand it. Like, my leadership style is totally different, and it's not it's definitely not a Chief's way.
It's the dad that spanks, and mine's the disappointed dad.
Whatever.
You seem mad now. Let's go. Let's take it to the chat. We got chat in the chat. Build a mentor professional. I think I said that one right. Some people refuse to put the work in. If your only job was to do that, then that was like 5 minutes ago or something. But you wear so many hats as a chief. Yes, I that's another saying that I hate is like almost. I wear so many hats. I hate that fucking saying. I fucking hate it.
You gotta wear your nurse hat today. Yeah,
I'm putting on my
officer hat.
I'm putting on my other hat. I'm putting on my other hat. Look at all my colors
right now.
All the colors and camouflages of my hats. I fucking hate it. But it's okay, Chad. I still like you. All right. So you can and do, but so much time goes into that. Also, say you get rid of a sailor who was taking care of the dud work for you, and then you bust them and lose that body. We don't say bodies. We say sailors, Chad. Get it together. Now, one of your workers has to pick up that dud slack. Yeah. Right. And that's what I was saying is like, yeah, they might be a dud. You find the appropriate work for the dud.
But see, is my non-understanding because my profession is totally different?
Yeah. That's a big part of it. Because you guys are like literally life and death. You guys are like very educated, licensed, and there's a level.
Education has nothing to do with it.
Okay, well it does because you have to have a degree to be a nurse.
I mean, corpsmen can do a lot of stuff, and they're not. I'm just saying.
Yes, they can, right? But it's still education on that, right? Whether it's a formal in the book education or
it's
OJT,
training.
Right? So, at any rate,
anyone can get training.
Yes, combat field medic TCCC certified. Okay, hey, y'all, it's a joke. Okay, but I am qualified. But what I'm saying is, I forget what I was saying. What were you saying? Is it your job? Okay, your job. Camera on me, people. your job, as I've said this before, right? You are a professional, right? There's like, I rate these things like profession, like as, all right, there's professionals, there's jobs, there's careers above jobs, right?
But you guys are professionals too. Like your job is a professional job. Not everyone can do what you do. I think that's what people.
Whoa. Okay,
I think
so
that's what people don't understand.
hold on, time. If we could train to be nurses from what you just said, they just gotta give people training and they could do your job. I could train you how to push a couple buttons and fucking order parts. Like it,
Yes.
just like I don't need to calculate math shit for fucking medicines and like no. I could give you I could literally give you a binder and say, "Hey, stand my duty over this weekend, honey."
But
and this is what you do.
That's
and
basically an IDC. You teach them how to be a.
But again, how long is that school? That's a lot longer.
What is that, like
a year or something? Yeah, that's a lot longer, right? What I'm saying is, yours is a lot harder and takes a lot more
that's
education.
Why you guys have a season, right?
And it's a
chief season.
Isn't that teaching Chad, get in the chat, Gary. Get in the chat. I need backup.
It's like teaching you how to be a chief, just like I'm teaching you how to be an IDC. I'm teaching you how to be a corpsman. I'm teaching you how to do supply. You go through a school, right?
Can you let me? Can I jump in here? No. You asking great questions, right? Because these are things you don't understand, right? See what I did there? That was pretty smooth. No, but the great questions. I believe you do not learn how to be a chief in the 6 weeks. Learning to be a chief started in your whole career. So yeah, those duds that stuck around and got through the dud work and then did a little bit more work, but still mostly Dudley, right? Dudley Brothers, WWE. Those eventually they might get there and they might be chiefs.
But wouldn't you say that that's your fault too for?
Nope, never said a selection board.
Letting them be a dud for that long.
Yes, but some can play the dud game very well and still advance, and then they study very well.
So can you guys explain to me like how, like a 15-year first class that doesn't deserve to be a chief gets selected to be a chief just because they've been in for 15 years, but they've been a dud, which is why they didn't pick up for however many times they've been on the board.
So, I mean, I can't because I've never sat a board and I'll never sit a board. Well, so you could ask somebody, hey, if you ever get to watch this and you're like, oh, they don't fucking know shit, then come educate, please, right? Explain those ones to me. Explain how not even 15-year, but explain how the 20-year first class, 22-year first class makes it and this is something I talked about before, right? It's like, how many times of being a dud do you get overlooked when it's like, oh, they finally got it all together, let's go ahead and make them a chief?
So that goes back to what I say of consequences. Why would you reward them?
So there's no, again, like what's a consequence that would prevent them from being rewarded? A counseling shit? No, that ain't shit.
You let them hit HRT.
DRB? No, but you have to have something to prevent it, is what I'm saying. Right? You have to have something that prevents them from being qualified to be looked at. And I've talked about this. Do you not listen to the podcast? I covered this on a previous episode.
You let them go through the process, right? You let them go through the boards, but they don't get selected because they don't have anything in their eval that stands out. And then you're going to sit there and tell me that community doesn't know who this first class is, like how many times they've been on the board?
You can tell how many times people went up for a board. You can tell when they weren't selected. You can see when they probably weren't. I'm sure of all that, right? What I'm saying is, if they're still board eligible, no matter how many years they've been in, no matter how many times they've missed it or anything,
absolutely.
If they're up for it, unless there's something to prevent them.
I didn't say
hold on.
You're making it seem like I said hold them from sitting on a board or from going up to board.
Honey, again, so you're not listening, you're interrupting. We're in the interrupting phase now of the podcast, okay? All right, we've moved on to the interrupting. What I'm trying to get at is there should be something to prevent them from being board eligible. That's the consequence. That's what gets the duds out of there and prevents the duds from becoming the duds.
Or another.
You know what? If you don't make board 3 times in a row, guess what? You're done. You don't get any more shots.
Not even that. Even if that system doesn't change, you don't have to select them. Like, what makes it okay to select them? That's what I don't understand.
I don't know. Fucking questions for the fucking people who sit it.
So that's a consequence. That's a consequence. They don't get selected.
But yes, it is, right? To make sure you understand, I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is there should be there's a gate before that to make sure that they can't be selected at all, that they're not even looked at. But you have to establish what is the criteria for a sailor to stop being looked at, right? Is it you're at 18 years and you've missed board 4 times?
But I don't even feel like that's. I mean, like I said, I'm not a chief, never been a chief, and don't know what the process is like. But I don't even care if that's part of the process. Like, even if that never changed about how they get looked at, to me is just like a lot of those people get selected anyway because it's just like, oh. I mean,
it definitely feels like
let's just give it to
hey,
them.
this person's on the year 18, 19, 20, 21. If we give it to them now, they'll have one shot at senior, then they'll hit 24 HYT, and
right, and it's
they'll
just
get
like,
a new high 3.
It's just like being a civilian. I'm going up for a position, right? A leadership position. And I went through an interview, and I'm going up against, well, let's say like 20 people, right? And all 20 people can't make it, right? It's a job slot for one. And it's just like being selected for a chief. You only have so many spots, right? So it's like going up for an interview.
But
like, why would you just say, yeah, let's just select them?
Let me pose it to you like this. Let's say you're going up for an interview. There's 20 of you. There are 5 slots, right? Immediately, they can tell who the top 3 are.
Yeah.
But there's 2 open slots now. And what your hospital needs is 5. But the next 2, they're not that qualified. They're not that great. Do you fill it, or do you wait till next year and you're just down 2 people all the time?
No, but you have other people that are better than the duds, right?
No. What I'm saying is, so you started with 20. You needed 5. You're down to your top 10, right? And you put them in order, number 1 through 10. The top 3 are definitely in there. The next 2, there's a big gap between top 3, like number 3 and number 4. But they are still the next number 4 and number 5. Do you hire them and fully man yourself? Or do you say, no, we'll just be short-staffed? Because those 2 are not as good.
Okay. So, I get that.
And so, hold on. So, never having sat a board, but understanding that all this goes into manning of the Navy, right? If you're saying you need 200 chiefs of whatever fucking rate you want to pick, right? Because, next year you plan on 300 separating and retiring or whatever, you know what I mean? And year groups and all this stuff. And you say, well, 150 are like the best qualified. And then the next 50, like... Okay. I mean, like they're kind of duds, but I mean, I guess like, like are they like I don't believe. And again, if you're out there listening, then prove me wrong. Show me somewhere where the board did not select to the full quota.
So if that's the case, which if we're saying that it's manning, then
it is.
Then what is the chief season for? There is no way that people would not know that 20-year first class made chief because he was 20 years and they had to select him because, he's number 57 and they needed 57, So why not use that season to train him a little harder to be like, you need to have what it takes, or just straight up I don't know. In the military, you can say shit like that, right? Isn't that what the whole season does?
I cannot disclose to you the secrets of the season. No, but all right, like
So then that's
everyone.
then
So
that's
so
the mentoring and training part that's supposed to be your job, right?
Chad, I need backup. Gary, I need backup.
I don't understand.
No,
I don't
no.
understand. I
So
don't get it.
so right, it was one of those things like you won't ever fully understand because you will never be able to wear the shoes and walk in those shoes, right? Again, the season does not make a chief.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
But you
Hold on,
could
babe.
still use that time.
Can I go? My hand's raised. Can you call on me, please? Okay. Yes, we use that time, right? Every command uses that time differently. Every select applies their time throughout that time differently. You want to get back to the softer part. I'm sure you asked Chad, who made it well before I did. His season was the last great season that there ever was. It was the last initiation before all the other bullshit. You know, when they changed everything, whatever. As you know, again, I've talked to your dad about it. Wow, you know, would you say that? Like, you know, that was the hazing days back then. You know, it just it depends on the sponsor. What's the sponsor talking to them about? Everyone involved, the sponsor, the people that chair it, are they identifying these people and kind of like singling them out as like, hey, you realize you made it on your last look? Or do you like, you know what I mean?
They know.
No, I'm not saying we don't know. I'm saying singling out and applying specific training to that or applying pressure to that point to say like, and then you, with all of that, you ask yourself, is all of that right? Is it right to do to single them out and be like, hey, yo, this is the one that made it?
But why do you have to do that? Why can't you just identify that, all right, we got a little slugger here.
Little slugger?
So,
come on, little slugger.
So if you guys are brothers and sisters like you say you are, you would take the time, right, during the season to, isn't this what you said, to bring them up, be the disappointed daddy, right?
Say daddy again.
You're stupid.
All right, hope we got Chad in the chat. Chad says, I believe the season exposes your weaknesses to yourself and shows your strengths, but most importantly, it shows that what resources you now have available. Good textbook answer, Chad. Thanks. Come back again. Assuming all players are engaged the way it is intended. No, I mean, Chad's right there, right? But I think we're getting to a deeper point that, to your point, right? Like the duds. Like, how do we find those duds, and then how do we call them out and then give them like specific training?
Why do you guys have to call them out like that, though?
Why not?
So, like, why would, I mean, it's just like what you said. Why would anybody want to come to you about what they're having problems with if all you're going to do is just kick them while they're already down?
Right. You would, I mean, I'm not saying kick them while they're down.
And-
I'm saying kick them so they can fall down. And then lift them back up.
And why does the season have to be different command by command? Like, how many commands are there in the Navy? There's so many.
There's
right?
actually 1,239.
Okay,
The
so
most recent one was the Naval Safety Command.
So you have 1,239 ways of doing the season?
Yes.
That's stupid.
Don't tread on me.
Don't tread on me. Don't tread on me. Chiefs mess, okay?
She doesn't understand, y'all.
I don't understand.
Brothers and sisters.
But I just want to know, like, why can't it be standard across the Navy? Because then you can't blame it on, well, what command did you come from? Oh, well, that's why. Because they're all a bunch of duds. It's like, it's like, you know, when you get, like, new nurses that come in, right? They finish orientation, and then now they're orienting the new nurses. So it's just like you have the blind.
You can tell the ones that got their shit from the community college online, huh?
Yeah, like Grand Canyon University. Y'all,
what are you talking about? Go
y'all
Lopes.
nurses need to work a little harder.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
come on, Lopes up.
And it's like the blind leading the blind, right? So why would you let each command have their own way of doing things when if you had a standard or a way to do it that's like standard across the board, then the only person you have to blame is the standard, not like the individual chiefs from that command.
I think no matter what, when you get into, there's a standard, right? Unfortunately, when you have people applying the standard, the application of the standard does not get applied the same.
So why can't you guys do training before the season? Just like, you know how there's a bunch of fucking NKOs about like.
I think you should read the Chief Creed, wifey, honey.
But
and
I'm
then
not
see,
a chief.
No, but it's explained in there. Some stuff. We'll go over it offline. I mean, like it's in there, right? There's no rank and file number in the Chief Creed, right? It says it. They're like you can't pull the book off the shelf and say, "Here, read this, and you're a chief." It's more, and this is why I go back to. It's not about the season. A lot of people think it is, right? You're focusing on the season, right? You don't understand why the season doesn't produce this, because it cannot be reproduced or the quality cannot be made during the season, right? It has to be made throughout a career. And if you don't have the career that sets you up for the season, like you're polishing a turd, right? If you want to think of it as a big giant stone that's coming out of the gravel pit, right? And it's all just a rock of different oblong shapes and sizes. And you take that rock to the season, what's it going to look like after 6 weeks? A chipped up, chiseled rock that doesn't look pretty, right? But if that rock was taken through a career of being worked on, and let's say it gets into the season in a somewhat of a square, right? Now during that season, what can I do to that square? I can polish it. I can make sure it's square. I can check the angles of it. Make sure it's perfect, right? And refine it to be a high quality product after the 6 weeks. Maybe yes, maybe no. But everyone enters that 6 weeks, that season, differently at different stages. Some with little to no shaping during their career. Some have very little career. Some have a long and tenured career where nothing was done, right? But no matter what, like they get in there and then it's just going to come out 6 weeks later of work. Not finished, some finished and some not finished. You know what I mean? And I understand that it's hard for you to understand that, right? Going back to everything we've talked about, right? Because we need to start wrapping this up, going on just past an hour and a half. I think as a spouse, it's hard for you to understand that because I bring some of this stuff home. I talk about, work, things like that. And you sit there as my civilian wife just thinking like, what? Like, I'm thinking in your head, like, you're probably thinking, why don't you just fire these motherfuckers? Why don't you just get rid of, like, right? Like, because that's what you would do.
No.
Or not in my position, but as a civilian in your job, you'd be like, get off my team. You can't be here. You're fired. You're not good enough.
Yeah, but
Move on.
I know you can't just fire somebody.
I know you know that.
But for manning purposes, you can't just gap a billet because you can't work with this motherfucker.
Unless they're really bad.
I was just joking about Grand Canyon University nurses, just FYI.
Go Lopes.
I don't think that you guys are dumb. I'm just kidding.
There's just that one that she knew.
No, I was just saying that. But anyway, I feel like most people use the 6 weeks of the season, and this is just my observation because I don't know and I don't understand. I'm just going to reiterate that. They use the 6 weeks. They identify who's the weakest link, and then they don't fuck with you no more. To me, that's not the way to do things. Like, I feel like that 6 weeks is to identify who do we need to spend a little more time on.
Sure.
If they welcome it, because you can tell like who will welcome it and who won't.
Yeah, and then that's a problem of itself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But are they not welcoming it because you piss them off in a certain way because of the way you came at them in your leadership style?
Have they been pissed off their whole career?
Right. But see, like, I don't understand. Like, when I hear these things, it's just like, I personally don't like to spend that much time on them, because you can gather, like, if they want to be mentored, if they want to be shaped and helped or whatever it is. So, like, when I hear things as a Navy Chief's wife,
Yo, she bash hard, but she loved to say it.
I still don't understand, because, and I think mainly because my leadership style is totally different. Like, I would have handled things, like, I may sound like I just write people off quickly. I don't. I actually take time on people, but I don't let it go into my personal time. If you're starting to cut in my personal time, I'm going to get with you tomorrow. We could train tomorrow or on my next work day. You're not cutting into my personal time ever. But that's because I'm not active duty anymore, because when you're active duty, you don't have personal time. Like, 24 hours, you're
The chief.
But at the same time, then what's the point of having an end of business day when you don't really have one?
No. I think you're right. There isn't, right?
So why do you guys still say that?
I don't. But everyone knows my close of business is at noon, because then I'm going home to my family. You catch me after that.
But it doesn't.
next day.
It doesn't really.
No,
stop there,
like
though.
no, it really doesn't. Of course, like emergencies, anytime, right?
Right.
All that stuff, right? Yes. But what I'm saying is, like, if I'm not at my desk after a certain time, it could probably wait till tomorrow.
Right. And me as a civilian, I'd be like, really, don't call or text, like, after, like, if you know I'm just coming off night shift, do not call me until, like, 3 p.m.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, though, is, like, I don't understand why people think it's okay, even if you're active duty, to call somebody on their off time, especially when they're on leave, because that happens a lot.
To me?
Are we going to say that it's never happened?
Was that a frog? Well, okay, so let's start wrapping this up, right, babe? Because I know you just keep going off on me. I feel like we need to go get some rubbies in or something, okay?
I need some wine.
Yeah, let's go. But to wrap up your point, Chad and Gary, if you're still there, if you got any last questions, get them in. Anyone else in the chat too, get them in. What was my last point?
I sounded like a frog.
No, okay, you sounded like a frog. There is no close of business for a chief or for anyone active duty, right? But there is an end of the workday, right? Well, of your time on board, of your time there. The phone is always available for emergencies or even sometimes not an emergency, but there's a situation, right? And a lot of times spouses don't understand that. I know you do, right? You understand it.
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
No. Because if someone calls you on your off time for a personal problem, to me it's just like, they ain't got friends to
Maybe
call
they
up.
don't. They might
I
not.
mean, even if they don't, it's just like, fuck, man, we got shit going on at home too. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't understand, because you have to drop everything that you're doing for this one thing, and it's not a little thing. I get it, but to me it's just like, fuck, man, like, there's no on board, like, you can't call, like, the fucking OOD or something, like,
No,
who is on duty. Like, you can't call someone who's on duty, but you got to call someone who's at home.
But that just goes back to, we're always on duty. We're always available. We're the chief, right?
Yeah, no.
So it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Like, we got to answer those calls. Just like when you were on active duty, you had to answer the call, right? You've been there. You had to answer the call and you had to go do it, right?
Yeah. It get in trouble.
Right. well, I'm not saying I'm going to get in trouble, but also like part of it, it's the right thing to do, right? If you're that person that they're calling, like even if you weren't in the military, but it was like, isn't it just the right thing to answer that call
Yeah,
when someone is calling for you? You know what I mean?
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that people shouldn't call you. What I'm saying is, like, to me, what's the point of having like people who are on duty on board if they're still calling people who are off duty?
Because you're mine. You're my sailor. You're my responsibility. I take accountability for you. That's why I'm your chief.
See,
right?
That's what I won't ever understand that.
No, you won't.
Because I always feel like there should be like I always feel like there's a boundary.
There is a boundary. But when it comes to personnel, it's a personnel matter, right? And I think you kind of look at it as like, no, that's a personal matter. Whereas I look at it as like, no, that's a personnel matter.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the difference. You're right. No. I'm looking at the E. I can spell, people. All right. So, I mean, I'd say that's like the best way to sum it up, right? Some people look at it as, no, that's personal. I'm not just saying you. I'm just saying, like, there's chiefs out there that be like, why are you talking to me about it? That's personal.
Yeah, I'm not saying, like, that's how you should handle it. I'm just trying to understand.
And so I'll wrap it up with that, right? Is like, to try to help understand, don't think of sailor issues as a personal issue. Think of them as personnel issues. And when it comes to your personnel, you have to be sure you're leading them no matter what time of the day, no matter what the issue. You know, I don't like saying taken care of, but that you're leading them to whatever resources and you know, whatever it is that is the issue, right, at hand, that you're there. And yeah, sometimes that personnel issue starts at dinner time, middle of the night. You know, you've been with me long enough where I've gotten the phone calls in the middle of the night about drunk sailors and this and that and shit. And even at that time, I was a fucking second class getting those calls, right? So it's like, you know, I was on duty, but it doesn't matter, right? So we got to look at it as personal versus personnel, and we take care of the personnel, right? Not the issue, the person.
Yeah, I just still have so many questions.
Well, let's go answer them over a drinky drink, okay? Chad, Gary, thanks for joining us in the chat. Appreciate you guys there. If you're listening to this Tuesday morning, don't forget you could also hop over to the YouTube channel and watch the video of it.
And don't roast me. I just don't understand.
Yeah, don't roast her,
don't
yo.
Don't tread on me.
Don't tread on her. I don't even know if she knows what that means, y'all. But it was cute. I liked it. So, you know, again, thanks for joining us. Episode 78, 79-ish or something. I forget. I don't know. When I be doing them live, I kind of fall off track. 78, I think. Again, it's on the YouTube. Go ahead and go get over to the YouTube, subscribe, turn on notifications, because sometimes we go live at who knows what time of the night when the kids are asleep or something, and you want to be sure that you're notified when we're live. That way you can come join us in the chat and you know, join the conversation as it's being talked about live, right? So thank you, everybody, and we got to hit this one. For more information on how you can support the podcast, please visit us at anchor.fm/Bravo Zulu Podcast. The information, views, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely of Joshua Moore and his guest, and do not necessarily represent the DOD, DON, or those of the respected institutions or organizations. Thanks for joining us.